unburdened by a physical form. The spirit of Kitsune is a visual storm, unrivaled in power and grace. It's a settle in peace in the state. Many have spoken out of turn in hopes of taking the place. Nevertheless, invaders thwarted, not knowing for their sake that the chalice that they chase was standing right next to their face. That spirit radiates.
Hey guys, welcome to the lab. We're back with some more exclusive content. Sundaze with the Clink Room. This episode, we have Kyle Page in the lab today. So Page Perception. How you doing today?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good. You've been a long-time supporter of the channel, so I've always been appreciative of you. So thank you for coming along and joining us for the festivities. But before we commence with that stuff, let's let the Clink universe get to know you a little bit better. So you've collabed with the Clink Room probably close to 20 times, maybe 18, if I'm doing a rough count. What kind of got your work started with the Clink Room, and how's that been so far?
So, I knew about the Clink Room when it first started, like Clink Room 1.0, but I never really submitted anything. But I've always been really big into sports, logo design, into sports. So I knew about Brandios, and was always interested in that. So I knew about it, but never submitted. And then I'd always look at their site and the behind the scenes. I love that type of stuff that they always put on there. So then when they came back, I definitely knew I wanted to submit at that point. It was during the pandemic. I was kind of in between actual work, so it was really a bright spot, and kind of like a little dark valley in a lot of creative work for me. So it really helped out a lot.
Yeah. So your name, Page Perception. What's the story behind that?
So Page is my last name, and then perception is just the way I see things. So whether it be fine art or sneaker design or any type of logo design, graphic design, it's just always kind of how I see things. So I figured that would be a cool way to still incorporate my name, but also have a nice little title for my brand.
Cool. What's your kind of creative process like when you're designing hats for the Clink Room? Do you come up with the concept first and then translate them into a wearable design, or do you kind of work backwards in terms of coming up with the design first?
Yeah, so usually, something will just kind of pop up in my head. A lot of the times I'll also just try to write stuff down or keep it in my notes in my phone whenever I have an idea. Then I'll just try to flesh that out. So I usually go to my iPad and I'll sketch stuff out to start with. Sometimes I'll look and see if there's stuff out there like that. I definitely always check the Clink Room. I started kind of when Clink Room 2.0 had started, so it was kind of like a fresh palette. But I try to make sure that I'm not stepping on anybody's toes and stuff like that. So and then from there I'll refine the sketch a little bit in Procreate on my iPad, and then I'll take it to Illustrator, and then it usually takes about quite a few renditions or revisions. I'll usually let it sit, definitely, even if I'm happy with it, let it sit overnight and then revisit it, come and look at it again. There's usually a few things that I would like to change, so that's when I usually change a few things. And then I spend way too much time on colors. I'm big on colors, so I usually try to pick stuff for very specific reasons. So that usually takes a while too.
Yeah. The whole process between, getting your design, posting it, and then having it reach crits, and then potentially having it hit the pre-order. There's a lot of fan input in terms of that design process. Has there been an instance where your design has been influenced by that type of feedback, and kind of how did that kind of unfold for you?
Yeah, I'm usually pretty dead set. I'm kind of stubborn on how I like it to be.
Right.
Actually, my girlfriend, she'll put in a lot of her input, which I usually take. It's usually good input, even though it's difficult to take the constructive criticism. But I could do better at that. But I'm usually pretty satisfied on how it looks. But I do tweak some things here and there, as far as colorways for a hat. If they think that it might work better on something, I'll like to see, at least try it to see how it looks. Make those changes and then go from there.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of your fandom for like sports. So, are there any specific like challenges or considerations when you're designing hats for people like sports fans? That may like custom caps as well.
Right. So I think especially with Clink Room, there's like such a large variety of like the fans of Clink Room. So, I mean, some people are into sports, some could care less. They just want like a dope design and they think it looks cool. So I try to think about that too. I mean, also, I'm big on storytelling, so you can tell the coolest story, but if it doesn't resonate or look cool to somebody, then it's not going to go anywhere. So I try to think about both sides of the coin, really. I definitely like sports inspired logos, like, the Field of Screams, he's swinging the cornstalk like a baseball bat. He's swinging the banjo like a baseball bat. So, I do like those tie-ins, but, I also try to think about it needs to jump out to everybody for it to appeal to everybody. And if I can make those tie-ins, then that's all the better.
Yeah. Like I think back to something as simple as like Wild Card that's, kind of based on a card game, but then still has some sports innuendo, like, being,
exactly, right.
Like a phrase, but it might necessarily look like a sports hat, but still has a lot of sports ties. So I think that's real cool. So we kind of know you as, Clinker first and foremost, but there's another part of you that really kind of fascinated me about your background. So you have a bit of a background as a footwear designer. So kind of take us through that. What's that like?
Right. So I spent like out of college, I was a fine art major in college, University of North Carolina, Go Hills. But from there, I taught myself graphic design so I could get, regular employment. So I spent like 10 years doing graphic design. And then I've always wanted to be a footwear designer. I've always loved footwear design. I like sneakers since I was a little kid. And I like to dive into the history of all that. So I figured I'd take a stab at it. So I don't know if people are familiar with Pencil Footwear Design Academy. It's based out of Detroit now, and it's actually like an official historically Black college university. So I took a class with that, and based on like my submission to that, I got accepted to a New Balance design class. So it was a master class. So they sent us to Lawrence or Massachusetts, and to their design headquarters, and then it was a 3-week course, and then we worked with like the teams that were there. So then, based on my performance there and my project there, they offered me a year-long internship like at New Balance. So I was working there in New Balance. I was working on the field of play team. So that's usually dealing with sports. So it's basketball, baseball, cricket, so those type of like cleated sports and athletic sports. So dealing with that and working on that team, which was great, it was fantastic. So toward the end of that year is when COVID hit. So everyone was basically, there was a huge hiring freeze. So they weren't going to really bring on anybody. So everyone that was, in my class or in my apprenticeship, they were kind of a little left in the lurch a little bit. So, and then that was just a difficult time. So I moved back home to North Carolina, and then it was at that point that like Clink ramped up. So, and then, probably about a year after that, I started working for the Waco Group, which is based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Never pictured myself being in the Midwest, being from the South. But it's been really cool. I work with really cool people. They have a few different brands. I work for Nunbush, which is a men's dress casual. So it's a little different than, sports athletic, but it still offers the same challenges, and it's the exact same process. So it's a nice learning experience, and, any design challenges I'm always here for.
That's awesome. So you got involved with New Balance kind of at a bittersweet moment for me, because some of the posts I saw you working on with like the different Kawhi Leonard shoes and stuff like that. It sucked to see him go, but I was happy for the time we had with him. But you working on his personal shoe was a little bit bittersweet. But then I always thought like that's such a cool opportunity for you. So I was very happy for you to do that. But I don't know if I ever shared with you that tidbit, but it killed me, but I was very happy for you. So
I think that helped me out, like get the master class anyway, because I was working on my project. I wanted to do a basketball shoe because I knew that they were going to get back into it. and they had signed Darius Baisley, you know, coming out of, you know, college, high school, basically. And then, so that was kind of what I was doing my project on, is an actual basketball shoe, because they hadn't actually released one yet. And right before I submitted the whole thing is when they announced that like they had Kawhi. I was just like, oh man, I gotta push some Kawhi influence in there as well. So
yeah, it's funny. I was actually wearing the shirt the other day. The board man gets paid for.
Oh yeah, that was great.
It was such an interesting transition to watch them turn into like the quote unquote like the dad shoe, or you know, people used to be made fun of for wearing New Balances, and then just to kind of watch them shift, and now they're like, you know, one of the top brands. But that almost it wasn't like a quick transition, but it did happen pretty fast. So that's kind of interesting to watch.
And they've the combination of like the sports and athletics and performance, like as far as running, and then it was around that time, you know, those probably a couple years before that, and then leading up to that and through that, like the lifestyle just completely blew up. I mean,
all the different collabs and stuff.
Yeah, they do it right.
Yeah. What sorts of things do you do to kind of stay updated in terms of like latest trends and even technologies in footwear?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking at stuff. You know, I'm always looking at stuff online. You know, actually, as a team, we go kind of like inspiration shopping. Sometimes we'll go to different places and see what's in the market, and see what people are wearing, whether it be fashion, but also like footwear. I mean, that's definitely an influence. And then like, as far as like creating wise goes, is always trying to find new ways to create. So like, you know, I've recently started to pick up Gravity Sketch, you know, working with the Oculus. And that's been really cool, because that's a different way of doing things. You know, I know a few people that are pretty prominent in the field, and it's definitely a kind of the future of footwear is you know, modeling things up in there a little quicker, and drawing in a 3-dimensional form is crazy. It helps you visualize, you know, all the different sides of the shoe while you're designing it, which is really helpful, instead of just doing a 2D or orthoscopic views. It can be way quicker to get stuff done. So,
right. How much does like comfort and function factor in on the design compared to like aesthetics?
It's pretty important. I mean, I would say, you know, if someone puts their shoe on there, it could look really dope, but if it doesn't feel good, like, you know, they're not going to want to wear it. You know, I think everybody who's really into shoes, you know, you've only got that size in it. No, I'll take the insole out and make it work. Or, you know, I'll cram my feet in or add some extra padding in there to make it work. Kind of the same thing you do for hats. You know, if the hat doesn't fit, you make it fit.
Exactly.
The hat so much. So I think it's really important, but performance is also important, and it depends on the shoe itself or what you're designing for. You always need to design for a purpose, and you try to like focus on these problems that you're trying to solve. So you direct to those problems, and as long as you can solve those, then it should be successful, especially who your consumer is. That makes a difference too. So, yeah, I mean, if it's a specific player, you get a design to what that player's movements are and how they play. But also, you can dial it down to make it a little more universal for people as well.
All right, perfect. Last question. Do you have any like advice for any aspiring designers, those people who are looking to kind of get in the world of sports related design? Like any advice or tips you could give them to get into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, like as far if you're interested in footwear at all, like I'd highly recommend like looking up Pencil Design Academy, which is Pencil Lewis, I think is what it's called now. It's based in Detroit. So they always have classes that are available. It's just basically a submission that you'll have to do. Sometimes when I did it, it required like a video and a hand sketch. Now I think they also allow some like digital sketches as well. So just, you know, hone your craft and like submit to those contests or submit to those classes. You know, if you're accepted, a lot of the times it's fully paid. Like, I mean, like room and board is taken care of. If you can get yourself out there, then you're in the class. And you're working with, you know, the main players in the industry, and they're going to see your work. So to me, that's like the quickest way through, if you're interested in that. As far as like sports and logo design, I mean, that's kind of the same. Like, I don't know, you know, I think it's just keep trying and making your own projects. I think that goes for footwear too, especially when I was like, you know, not working for a brand. it's just making your own projects, like, you know, these passion projects that you make. Develop your own portfolio for these projects that you're making, and then just post them on Instagram. People are going to see them, and you're going to gain a following. You're going to get people are going to be talking about it, and then, you know, once things just continue to get shared, like you'd be surprised at the people that see that and can reach out, and you never know where to go from there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for doing that with me. And we'll get into the festivities. So first, we're going to cover the dead stock drop. So the dead stock drop, for those who don't know, typically are either recolors of existing hats or they're leftovers from the pre-order. So these are limited quantities. They don't always have full-size runs for these hats. And they typically drop them one day earlier for Clink VIP members. So make sure you guys are joining the Clink VIP. It doesn't cost you a thing, and you'll get a day jump on the regular people. So first off, they dropped these three. So Seok is back with Amor Eternal, Pigs in Paradise by Taxican and Aurelian, Luis Mendoza, and Sand Snakes by Milos. Anything here stick out to you?
Yeah, I think Sand Snakes is great. Like, I liked it when it was originally posted. A lot of the ones that I like and things that I try to like focus on when I'm designing too is like, let me do something cool that Casey can have fun with, like embroidery wise, or something that I haven't seen embroidery wise. So if he can play with like the depths, like, or use that crown as like a field of some kind. So in here it's the sand, like that snake's going in and out, and it pops. I mean, like the depth on that, I'm sure, is fantastic. So that one really stands out to me. Pigs in Paradise is kind of the same thing, you know, using that crown as the water. Here, I think, you know, which happens from time to time, is like some of the thread colors or fabric colors can like throw you off a little bit because they look like they might be darker than they were. I think the mock-up was probably a little more contrast than this, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm sure that jumps off the page too. And then as far as the Amor Eternal, I mean, those colors are great. Purple and, you know, purple, black, and orange. Those are always look sick.
Yeah. That pose kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you're familiar with the artist OG Abel. It's like a West Coast kind of Mexican style artist. So he's always doing that kind of like pose, but like on like skate decks and stuff like that. But
nice.
It's really hard to like get that narrowed down on that hat though. So
yeah,
he did get a good job kind of like packing in detail. Pigs in Paradise. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like the final product it might look a little bit washed compared to the mock-up, but I think the concept's really really fun and really cool. So
yeah, definitely.
I think there's like an island people visit where the pigs kind of live, and some tropical island. I think it's in Barbados. I could be wrong, but
that makes sense.
Yeah, but the winner here, I'm with you. I think it's Sand Snakes. Just the way it kind of, you know, slithers through the hat, and it's got negative space, and it kind of looks like you could be under the hat a little bit. Yeah, it's just a really, really slick hat. I think you did a great job.
Yeah,
all right,
for sure.
Moving forward, we got Ace Eagles, Spitfire, and Soul Reaper. So, Wind Studios did the Eagle, Spitfire by Lane and Aurelian, and COD Steve did the Soul Reaper. Anything stick out to you here?
Yeah, I think Spitfire is the one of these three for me. Yeah, I mean, that just looks cool. It pops off the hat. The way it just makes that circle right in the middle of the hat, and then the fire itself and the flame. I mean, I know that looks sick in embroidery, and it just pops off of the hat. That's definitely my favorite of these three.
Yeah, it's funny because I picked up the ones on the edges actually. So I have Ace Eagles and Soul Reaper. I have a thing for like Grim Reapers on hats. So the only thing about that one is I know for spacing wise, the scythe, if it was pointing the other way, may not fit the hat properly. He might have to switch hands maybe, but I kind of feel like the scythe is backwards, but still it's an interesting enough hat for me to grab. So I like funky colors with like Volt and
yeah, those colors are nice.
Yeah, but I think all three of these are really solid. And then the last two, so Turkey Bowlers and a Tattoo God by Sierra Gons. So turkey bowlers. I don't know if you know this, but Canadian Thanksgiving is always the second Monday of October. So I just wore this hat.
Oh wow, nice
for Thanksgiving. But yeah, what do you think of these two?
I think they're both really good. I mean, turkey bowlers I liked. I mean, again, it's a sports one, and we don't get a lot of football Clink Room hats, so that's cool to see that one. And it's well done. I mean, striking the Heisman pose. I mean, it's solid, and it's Thanksgiving colors. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
The Tattoo God, those colors are really good. Like, I mean, those colors look really good together. That pink and the navy. There's a lot going on with a lot of the lines in there, but I mean, it's still visible, it's still legible. So yeah, I like both of these.
Yeah, Sierra nails like the mezzo stuff.
Yeah, always.
The initial mock-up, I think this is coming out a little bit smaller than initial mock-up, but I'm not mad at that size. I think because he originally he filled like the whole canvas almost, but I think they're both solid. Yeah, like I said, Turkey Bowlers is the one I grabbed. So Cleveland Brown colors reminds me of like football on Thanksgiving. So it hits all the notes for me.
Yeah.
All right. So now we'll be covering the 6 hats that will be ending for pre-order tonight at midnight. So make sure you guys grab that if they are in your cart or if you're looking up cop. So these first 3, Beer Power by COD and Albivon, Force Rays by Ryan, and PB and J Time by Sierra Gons. Anything stick out to you here?
I like all 3 of these. I think they're all really good. Like COD designs, like all of those like Japanese kawaii type things, are great that he does. I mean, those are always so good. The PB and J Time, and that one's fun. Again, the colors are great, and I know that jelly is going to look like really good embroidered over top. My favorite one though is the Forest Rays. This is the type of example that I'm saying. It's like, let me do something that Casey can have fun with, the Clink Room can have fun with, and I know that one's going to look. I hope that was going to look sick. In my head, I think that it's going to look really cool. So,
yeah, like that Forest Rays, man. That's like advanced color play, like really studying and looking at the different colors and how to block that properly. Because how the rays really change. What you're looking at in the colors that they're using. Another example of that would be like the Catalina Flying Fish, like just kind of how they blocked it. They just did an amazing job. So I know Casey's going to knock that out of the park. Beer Power, solid hat. It goes with the caffeine power when you put them together, they're both jumping towards each other. So I think that's hilarious that he did that. And yeah, PB and J Time. Doesn't like swinging logos. Like it's just killer. And then the jelly that comes off it kind of reminds me of fart squirrels that Park did a couple years ago for Clink Vision. And then that's just going to be like chunky raised embroidery. I can't wait to see how that one comes out. But yeah, I think all 3 great offerings right here. So let's take a look at the other 3. We got Life Hackers, Relax, Grim Visions. So Creaturezoid, and I think Ari Clifton did that one. His name got cut off there. Rafael did Relax, and Wooden Studio did Grim Visions. What do you think about these?
This was a good week, man. Like, I mean, they were all pretty solid. I mean, I don't know what my favorite is on this. They're all pretty much kind of like the same for me. I think that, Life Hackers is funny. With the beaver with the chainsaw, and I like the green outline on that's pretty cool too. I think Relax is good. I think they're thick enough so that they can actually do like a satin stitch instead of like a, more of like a dotted stitch. So I think it'll actually turn out pretty good. And then the Grim Visions, that's something that we haven't really seen, like that type of thing on the banner itself. And I think that the depth on that's going to be really good too. So that's, I think is what's going to jump out the most on that one.
Yeah, and I think Casey was the one that I think he did Catacombs. That's kind of similar.
I think Austin worked on it, and then but I think this might be a little thicker than the bones on Catacombs, so it might come out a little bit better. Yeah,
this one's and kind of in that same vein. So we know that this one's gonna stitch real well because Catacombs. When I originally saw it, I I wasn't too sure, but then when I saw the final product, I was like, okay,
it looks good.
But yeah, all three solid offerings, I think. The happy face is always funny to me. Reminds of Forrest Gump a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, great job, Clinkers. And we'll get into the crits, Monday Morning Critz. So let's take a look at what was submitted, and we'll talk about it. So first up, what do we have? Milk versus cookies. Ed Weird and Flashy. What's your initial thoughts here?
It's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little busy. I don't know if I would do the sharp lines on the yellow burst on the outside. I don't know if it's a specific shape. It means something, but I don't know if that's completely necessary. As far as like the cookie and milk, though, like I think that looks good. I think those are solid. And it's almost like they're doing the kid and play dance, but they're also fighting at the same time.
It's great art. It's a tad bit muted for me, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just pump up the contrast a little bit. Maybe add some blues to the chocolate, to the milk, or even you can turn chocolate milk, strawberry milk, whatever. But if you want to keep them the regular white milk, maybe add some blues, maybe some reds. That way you just kind of pump up the contrast a little bit. I'm with you. The burst at the back, it seems cool, but it might not be necessary because it kind of blends in with the rest of the milk. And but it's all in all, I think it's solid. There's nothing really wrong with the art. I think it's like a fun little hat.
I mean, if you just outline the whole thing in yellow, and then maybe here and there make like some pops, like in the middle where the combat is actually there. I think
a power mark or something.
Make it jump even more.
Yeah, and I think almost like the cookie's almost a little bit too light, so maybe like darken the cookie a little bit. But it's tough because it's getting almost lost in that kind of like Panama tan, light brownish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like adding outlines is a good idea.
And the layout's good. I mean, you're using like all the crown, and that's key. I mean, it's going to be able to be big.
Yeah. Solid though. Solid. All right. Hidden Motive by Clinker One Mission Cap. I'm gonna look their Instagram up real quick, but what are your initial thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the story is behind it, and I'm not familiar with Clinker One Mission Cap. So the one thing I do like about it is like the simplicity of it. Like really simple logos, they do embroider really well. Like, so if you can simplify something, it's actually going to look pretty good. Some of the outlines might need to be thickened or actually thinned on some of them. Maybe lose a little bit of the detail on the handle of the knife, I guess it is. But as far as the design, it's fine. Like, yeah, I mean, simple logos always embroider nice.
Yeah, and they did a slick move in that they didn't center the whole image; they centered the mask, so it looked lopsided. Yeah. That's a little slick move that they did. It looks like they're working out of Indonesia. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar. They have 12-ish designs on their account. It looks like they made the account just for Clinker submission, so it's like a newer account. September 16th was their first entries, so it's cool to have them around. Yeah, this looks like their first entry into crits, so congratulations, and hopefully we see more of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Camelot, Milosh and Creaturezoid getting together. Cool pun. I like a high level pun. So Camelot. Yeah, this is fun. What are your initial thoughts?
It's good. I mean, the artwork's like really, really good. Like straight up sports logo. It reminds me of like being from North Carolina, like Campbell College. They're the camels. They've got like a running camel logo. But yeah, I mean, this is good. The shield, the swords. Yeah, I mean, I don't think too much would need to be simplified. I mean, sometimes I'm always curious, like if they can get some of the highlights and shadows in there that you put in there. Sometimes they take them away. Sometimes they leave them. So, either way, if it didn't have those highlights, it would still look great embroidered. So.
I like how it's like hyper realistic, yet kind of goofy at the same time. If that makes any sense.
Right.
It's not like a weird Joe Camel type like art. It's not like, anthropomorphic or whatever. Like it's like like if you were to take away the helmet, it looks like a really well drawn camel. So I just like that part of it. The colorway is kind of cool and refreshing. So it's like a camel color, navy blue under. It's just different. It feels different. It feels kind of it feels good. I like this hat a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I think I'll be very surprised to not see this one.
Me too.
All right, great job. Let's see what else we got. Namaste Dead, Tri-Dub Design. I'm gonna look up their Instagram too. So while I do that, what are your initial thoughts here?
I mean, it's cool. Like I don't know. The thing is, like, I don't know what people do like, what they don't like. I mean, I probably wouldn't wear the hat, but I think the design's fine. I think I mean, anybody who likes yoga, I think is gonna love like a hat like this. Yeah, I mean, the design's fine. Yeah, I mean, it might need to be, clean up maybe some of the bones a little bit, but
yeah,
it should, yeah, especially like in the hands and the feet and stuff like that, but maybe the rib cage, but, and it might even be able to be a little bigger too, honestly. Because, I mean, then you could, if this was successful, you could do like all kinds of different poses with them if you really wanted to.
Yeah, it's interesting. The name, I mean, obviously, like you use Namaste in yoga and stuff like that, but Namaste Dead, I don't even know if like grammatically if that's the best way to say it. I don't even know. But
there's like a joke like I've heard before, like Namaste in bed. Like I'm not gonna deal with today anymore. I'm just gonna keep it relaxed.
Fair enough. But yeah, it looks like they're back from last week. So last week they had the submission for Greedy Pigs. So that was like the pig one. And they're pretty regularly submitting, so good to see. His name is John. So John, good to see you kind of staying and submitting multiple ones. So I'm not super like, even though I'm a Raptors fan, I'm not super in love with like the purple and red,
purple and red
colorway on this particular one, but I think like the art's good. Like he looks like he has like a background in sticker design, graphic work, and that kind of thing. So it's always interesting to see those type of graphic artists kind of come over, because you almost have to minimalize your design and your style. So it's tough because like the small stuff here with like the very thin outline, with the very thin stroke, like it makes for a tough hat sometimes. So they might have to find a way to simplify. Like the teeth, there's no way that those order as is.
Right.
So there's some small stuff in terms of detail that they're gonna have to work through, but in terms of art, I can't argue with the art. The art's good. So
right. And something like this could be any color. I mean, like you could any color you want.
Yeah, black, white, glow in the dark.
That's right.
Exactly. One. Black, gray. Like there's so many ways you can kind of break this down. But solid art. Keep it up. Rippers. So Jake and Adam got together and made this one. Really funky colors. What are your initial thoughts here?
It's cool. Like it's definitely good. I like the artwork like this. And it's got like depth. It's got different layers that they can play with. I mean it's pretty solid. Like I can see this embroidering really, really well and looking cool. I mean, it reminds me of like Nichos, the graffiti designer or graffiti artist.
Yeah, the guy that dissects everything.
Yeah. So I like his stuff. So yeah, I mean, this is really cool. And I like that it's like, I mean, I guess the front symmetrical, but the rips in the back, like they're not the same, which is what I like. Everything doesn't have to be. It can look symmetrical, but still be different. So I do like that little attention to detail. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Nitro. So this one actually reminds me a little bit of Paul Jackson. Are you familiar with his work? Paul Jackson.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so he does a lot of like the skull rips and
right.
the face is coming apart, but he has like way more like just like stuff in it. That would not translate well for a hat. So I think they did a great job here, kind of minimalizing it. Yeah, I like the art a lot. The only thing is I don't know if I love the colorway of the hat. So
yeah, I don't either. It's like
the teal with the light brown and then the hot pink under. I don't know if I'm in love with that. I feel like the purple and fuchsias almost work against it, even though it does provide good contrast. Maybe it's the brown that's throwing me off. I'm not sure, but all in all, I think it's a really cool concept. It's drawn really well.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, the brown doesn't really fit there. I mean, that could be purple and it might change the whole thing altogether.
Yeah.
And then, this is another thing. Like, this is what I need to keep in mind is like when I'm designing stuff, I'm so focused on like what a color or what colors things need to be for this specific story that I'm telling, when something like this could be any color. So you could do multiple colorways. And then if you get something successful like this, like a lot of clinkers have done, you can just keep doing tons of different animals, and then you've got your whole series. If people like it enough, they're going to keep buying that to have the whole collection.
Exactly. The one that kind of comes to mind is the like the money series.
Exactly.
You know? Like that one, you just kept doing different safes and money bags and different things. But if you got one, you're gonna be a little bit more amped to get the rest of them. So
yeah, right.
I think this is solid. It might need a little work on the coloring, but all in all, I think they did a great job.
Yeah, the design's there. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Sunset Strip. New England Fitteds is back. I believe his name's Ryan. He's from Niagara Falls, if I'm not mistaken. But what are your initial thoughts here?
It's cool. I mean, I actually do kind of like the colors on this. It might be too much in the film, too much detail in the film, but like the idea is really cool. Like I think it's fun.
Have you ever been down to Sunset Boulevard?
I never have been. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's one of the best and worst streets at the same time. But there's a lot happening down there on Sunset Boulevard. I believe it's the same thing he's referring to, Sunset Strip, so film strip, all that stuff. So I think it's a real cool and different type of idea, like just to get the cityscape in a film strip. I think that's really unique and different. Mm-hmm. The colorways almost screams a little bit more like Miami East Coast than like West Coast LA, but all in all, I think it's like a really fresh and cool idea. It's really different. That color on the bottom, I'm curious. There's a new color in the catalog. It's called Mango Mocha. So that kind of looks like that. Right. It's like a dull peach almost. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I would say this would probably have a good chance of making it through, but it might need small revisions here and there. But otherwise,
I think it's some small revisions. I mean, like they did, like pretty much anyone that has like a scene within something else has turned out pretty nice. So.
Yeah. But you're right. But they like found a new way to do it, so it's not just a square or a triangle,
exactly,
or a silhouette. Like it's actually like there's movement to it. So I can appreciate that. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Luck Around, Flanagan and Levi. Almost like the Fighting Irish guy, just done differently.
Yeah. Right.
What do you think? What are your thoughts here?
It's cool. I mean, like Flanagan's got one of the most distinct styles out there. Like I know exactly when it's his design, but just by the style. I think the artwork's good. I mean, it's funny. Looks like he's wearing some 6-inch Timbs. So I mean, like, I mean, it's cool. It's big. I don't know if it'd be quite that big when it's embroidered, but I mean, the colors are great. It totally looks like some old school Fighting Irish stuff. And obviously he's fighting with his brass knuckles. So, and that could be really fun embroidered too. If you just raise those knuckles, like that was the main thing that was raised up on that. Yeah. I mean, it's solid artwork.
What do you think of the outline here? So I say that I ask you that because I feel like the outline is solid. I just don't know if the color is the best choice because it's not different enough than the boots or than the kind of staff he's holding.
Yeah, right. If it was white, I mean, it'd probably pop like crazy.
Yeah, even a white or silver, any type of like gray even. But I just feel like it's almost too close to the boots and staff. This is a fun design, so it meshes a lot. Like it hits the right notes for a lot of things. So like I look at that hat, it reminds me of like Peaky Blinders. I look at the weapon he's using, and it reminds me of Gangs of New York, and you know the Fighting Irish guy, and maybe even like the brass knuckles is, you know, I don't know what it's reminding me of, but those brass knuckles are cool. So
right.
I think all in all, this is a really fun hat, and hopefully it arrives before St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, I think this can appeal to a lot of different people too. Like you said, Peaky Blinders, and then like, you know, anybody who's a Notre Dame fan, a Boston Celtics fan, like they're gonna like this hat.
Yeah. Look around, jump around. You know, there's all kind of, you know, things around that. So yeah, I think they did a great job. Up to Snow Good, Wind Studios is back with the snowflake infused with the skull. What are your initial thoughts there?
Skulls are undefeated, man. Like they always do well. And this is it's a good interpretation. I mean, they fit it in there really well. And it would embroider good, like for sure. Like those lines would embroider, the whole thing would jump out. Yeah, I think Casey could have some fun with this too, with the skull, just the skull part, you know, being a little more further out. Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I mean, it pops off of that crown too. I don't know if I don't know if the undervisor is enough contrast for me, but other than that, yeah, I think it's good. And I like the fact that it's slightly off to the side or like tilted. That's good too.
Yeah, I'm with you with the visor over under. I do see like he's kind of coming for like almost like a monochromatic theme. Everything's in a blue. I'd probably opt to do something gray to break it up, or make the top way darker, or even just do a monocolor hat. So you just you stick with the navy and then just have that kind of light blue, sky blue under. That could work too. But in terms of art, nothing wrong with the art. He does great art. It's a really nice, well drawn thing. You know what it reminds me of a little bit? You remember the Mariners with the turn back the clock hats that like the red and silver with the huge compass? It kind of reminds me of like the placement of that hat. But if you put this in Casey's hands, I'm sure they're gonna kill the embroidery. Just the different levels of embroidery, the thick fin and different lines. I think they'll do a great job.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's it. No, we're Full Moon, Heather Green, back with the Howling Wolf. What do you think here?
I mean, it's cool. I don't. It's a little like I don't know if it's the moons. Seems like it's squished a little bit. Like it's not a perfect circle. And then there's just some small details in the wolf. I think you could simplify it a little bit. I mean, other than that, it's cool. I'm not crazy about the yellow and brown visor personally, but and I don't know if it even needs the triangle. I think you could have some fun with just the wolf and the moon, with maybe like add some trees to the side or something like that. But I like the fact that they keep churning out like designs. Like I'm seeing the name a lot, so it's cool to see like new designers like being pretty prolific as submitting things, because I like to see fresh faces and fresh designs to vote on.
Yeah, I almost feel like this was almost designed as if it was like made to be a screen print T-shirt. So it's like you got the blue, you lay it out, then you got the yellow, you lay it out, then you got the white on top, and then you got the black on top. I almost feel like there's like a lack of kind of texture for it. It's drawn nice, but like you said, the details on the dog got to be beefed up. So like maybe find a way to work that in somehow. Maybe put the moon higher up on the triangle, or get rid of the trees, or find a different way to do the trees. Maybe make them a little bit more random, or have a different silhouette there. But all in all, I'm with you. I like to see Heather kind of, you know, have her style kind of evolve right in front of our eyes. Like she's definitely getting better and submitting often. So I want to make sure we encourage her and all that. But there are some details that might be harder to translate for a hat. But other than that, I like what she's done so far.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, like the more they design, the more I mean, we've seen that with some, designers as well. Like the more they design, like, I mean, the better and better and better they get. It's like crazy that then they just start hitting many start hitting the store.
Yeah. Like Milos, Jake, Rafael, are kind of like the more like later examples. Like you almost consider them veterans now, but
yeah,
they were almost in like the Clink 2.5 era almost, and then the people that really started in the beginning of like 2.0, like I think of Jacobo, Aurelian, Siak, like just people that are just always putting in work. So good to see kind of like this new I guess cohort kind of develop. So like Heather Green, the Do Designs, COD, like there's just a bunch of people that Sierra, like that just you almost see them every week.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's cool. This is the last one. So Patrick, Magnus is back with Icebreakers. What are your initial thoughts?
I like the colors. I like the fact that it's a little like monochromatic. I think that's cool. One thing that I'd like to see, like since this is like Icebreakers, is if instead of like those lines, like you just made cracks on the crown, like the crown itself is the ice he's sitting on.
Okay.
And then like, I mean, I think that would be really sick. But yeah, I mean the walrus itself looks really cool. Like the top lighting that's coming down looks solid.
Yeah, I think he did a great job with the actual art of the walrus. Like it's really slick. It's like strong, amazing. Like it's hitting the mark. I just don't know if I'd keep it like in the greens and the different teals and stuff like that. I don't mind that the hat's colored that way, but I almost feel like you lose it a little bit, kind of having the walrus almost blend into the hat so much. Yeah, you're almost doing yourself a disservice because the art is really good.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying. And also like monochromatic ones are a little difficult, especially with greens, because like the greens are closer than you think to one another. There's not as much contrast, so it might look a little washed out. So maybe you put a little bit more contrast in between those colors.
Yeah. I don't even know, like hitting it with an outline wouldn't help in this particular case because he's got so many little lines at the bottom.
Yeah.
But maybe even mixing some grays, almost greenish grays, maybe to just because you just don't want something drawn this nice to kind of hide so badly into a hat. So I think like the colors he used on the crown are excellent. It's different. It's refreshing. He's got like a Mariners like Northwest teal going on with like a dark green. I'd probably break it up with like a gray bottom or something.
Yeah, I think that would look cool. I think if you like put a gray bottom and then I think maybe instead of the white that you have there, make that the gray as well, and then outline it in white, and then instead of those lines at the bottom, make those like some cracks like come out off of the outline that you have.
Yeah. I like that idea. Yeah, kind of utilize what we saw in the Insta drops, like that kind of like flowing through that thing. But all in all, man, I think it was a pretty good week in terms of the crits. But yeah, let us know in the comments which of these designs you guys are feeling. Before we break off, do you have anything to say to the people before we sign up?
No, I just like thank you for the community that the Clink Room is. Like I encourage like everybody to continue to design. I wish I had more time to design myself. So whenever you have a spare time, like submit. Even if you don't think you can submit, go ahead and do that. People are there to like help out, offer pointers, or even like help you with the design. I think a lot of the here recently, a lot of people who just don't can't necessarily design like on the computer. They have great ideas. So a lot of collabs have come from that. So there's a space for everybody in the Clink world. So yeah, I appreciate the Clink Room and Casey for starting it back up, because it helped me out of a pretty rough patch, I guess, for me. So to get those little wins was really important. So I encourage everybody to design and have fun and keep purchasing the hats, and just thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Like I said earlier, man, you've always been a huge supporter of the Views channel and frequent Tap In Tuesday guest. So, I've always, been a big fan of yours in terms of your professional work and just who you are as a person. So when I came asking to have you on, you agreed. So I can't appreciate that enough. So
thanks, man.
Hopefully people give you give you a follow, and you guys just kind of follow your journey moving forward. So for Kyle and Leon, we're signing out. We're out here.
Peace.
When displayed in 9 incredible rays of flames, a spectrum of light and love, then power and peace. Yet the myths and legends draw against this calming tone.
Brought to you by VFTV.